I also think part of our responsibility is to help creators launch better businesses. Like the top people on Patreon make $500,000 a month, and they have 200,000 creators, which is pretty insane that they have that many creators and no one's making around $500,000 a month. And that's because it's the same issue X has. People don't like the OnlyFans style of paywall content where it's just like image, video, text. Like that's not an immersive experience. Airbnb took a house and they didn't build a new house. They just shifted what you could do with the house and people started making way more money. Same thing with Uber. And I think our responsibility with creators is to actually help them launch better businesses.
Yeah, dude, this is a sick office. So we're in New York City. How long have you guys been in here?
We've been in this office for a little over a month now. So we've been in New York for 2.5 years.
Two and a half years.
This like a month ago.
Same mile radius though for like the last 3 years.
Hell yeah. And when did Whop actually start?
3.5 years.
We started a little over 3 years ago. So March 21. So a little over 3 years now.
You guys been grinding, and now you're just coming up on Twitter and whatnot. So it's cool to see. So real quick, Cameron give an intro, and then Hunter give an intro, and we'll dive in.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Cameron. I grew up outside of Chicago, so northern suburbs, about 30 minutes outside of the city. I got into business when I was about 12, 13 years old. I started reselling Nike Elite socks, started selling soda out of my locker at school, just a ton of random businesses. I met Steven, my co-founder, when we were 12, 13, so we got into sneaker reselling pretty young. I had a friend from high school named Charlie who was just wearing these like sick shoes to school one day, and I went home to try to buy them, and I found out they were $300. So I was like, that's fucked. I can't afford that. So I was making $10 a week. I started saving up all my money. I took my family to camp out at local like finish lines. So we'd go at 4 a.m. My whole
that's
family
what we
would
used
come.
to do growing up, bro.
It's the best. Sneaker
That's
reselling.
so sick.
Like,
Midnight releases were so dope.
So fun. So I'd bring my whole family. They would give me a loan. We'd take out like a ton of cash. We'd buy 4 pairs. I'd make $50 a pair. So just like slowly compound gains. Then one morning I was in the line and I saw someone purchasing shoes online. And I was like, how do you do that? So the next week I didn't bring my family. I was like, we're just going to buy them online. They instantly sold out. I was like, how did they sell it so quickly? I found out what sneaker bots were. So got my first sneaker bot. And then around that time I met Steven, my co-founder, and we built an iOS app. He programmed it. I sold it. It was a sneaker bot that people could just download on their phone. And when shoes would come out, they could buy it automatically.
What was that one called?
The first company we did was called Soul Sniper.
Bro, you guys were Soul Sniper? No way.
Yeah.
Dude, was that the Chrome extension? Or
yeah, it was the Chrome extension and the iOS app.
I'm pretty sure if I looked up on my email right now, like my AOL account, I don't have it on my phone. I'll go on my computer, but I was probably one of your first purchasers.
That's so crazy.
Dude, that's so cool.
That was like over 10 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, when I was like 16, I was in sneakers.
Yeah,
sneakers reselling.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro.
That's so funny.
What a come up.
Yeah, that was crazy. So that scaled. We started buying a ton of shoes on our own. We started selling the software a lot and just scaled that business. Right when I turned 16, I dropped out of high school. So I just wanted to go at this life kind of like full on. So dropped out of high school.
Yeah,
dropped out of high school.
All right, cool. I thought college is usually what comes after I dropped out.
Yeah,
but high school is cool too.
Unfortunately, I would have loved to do elementary school.
Tell me about the Tesla. Tesla too.
Yeah, I went through like an ego phase of where I bought a Tesla when I was like 18. So I went through a phase of like just trying to buy a bunch of shit, but I now don't work. I'm now over that phase of just like, I lived that. It was good. I got that over with. So that just continued. The sneaker reselling stuff continued to grow. On a given morning, we could buy 3,000 pairs of sneakers. I think the most we ever bought was around like 2,000 to 4,000 pairs in a morning. We were buying a lot of stuff out of Europe because Adidas would drop higher inventory levels in Europe since they're based out of Germany. So there was a lot less competition in Europe. So we just scaled the sneaker reselling stuff to the moon. That fizzled down once Kanye started releasing a ton more Yeezys, and Steven and I we did a ton of different businesses, and then we had an arbitrage. After that, we started kind of like a consulting agency. So we built apps and websites for people. So everyone was always asking us for help building apps, building websites. So we just shifted focus to doing that. We scaled to 80 active projects with like a team of 5, which was a shit show. That was crazy, but it was fun. We learned a lot through that. You just get to deal with people. The trend in the beginning with the sneaker reselling company was people online want to make money. Like they want to buy sneakers to make money. And then the trend with the agency was people want to start businesses, but they don't know how to start businesses and they don't have the resources. There were so many people who wanted to make similar types of businesses in different niches. And all these things have kind of compounded to the vision for Whop today. But that was a really cool trend. Then after that, we had an arbitrage bot we made, which would take products from Amazon, list them on eBay at like a 25% markup. And just when someone buys, because the demographic on eBay is a little bit older and different than Amazon. So someone would buy it on eBay, we'd order it on Amazon. They would get it on Amazon package. It went really well until eBay started getting really pissed that a ton of people were getting Amazon packages. So they started banning accounts and that got shut down. And then
I think Daniel talked about using that at like one of his first side hustles.
Yeah,
that
it was so
exact
easy.
software.
It was just drop shipping. So and then around middle of COVID, we started Whops. We found a Discord server with about 100,000 people in it. It went back to the kind of beginning of sneaker reselling, where during COVID, people were reselling PlayStation 5s, pools, weights,
heaters.
Everything. Yeah, heaters for the restaurant. So everyone that was building sneaker bots shifted to building bots for Walmart, Amazon, and the market just exploded. You could sell a bot for $10,000. Like there was so much demand because 10 PlayStations would make you 10 grand in a morning. So there were all these people that were just renting out these sneaker bots and the software in Discord, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo. People were getting scammed left and right. So we built the first iteration of Whop, which was just a peer-to-peer marketplace to rent out software, which was sneaker bots.
Wow.
And it was me, Steve, and our other co-founder, Sharky. And that just started growing really quickly. Everyone started using that as their primary source of renting sneaker bots. Later on, the developers of the creators of the software wanted, they saw all these people making money selling their bot on our platform. They weren't making any money. So they wanted to get a piece of the cake. So
Like
we
royalties or
built,
whatever.
exactly. So we built an API for creators to sell software through Whop. And that was kind of the first iteration of letting creators sell products on Whop. That was super cool. That scaled quickly. And then a bunch of creators that were using us for kind of rentals started shifting to using Whop to sell all of their license keys. So they wanted to be on the marketplace. They started using the Whop.com link as their primary source of distribution. And then they wanted to sell more than just software. They wanted to sell access to community. So we built a Discord integration and Telegram integration so people could sell more than just software. And that kind of led us down a 2-year journey of just continuing to integrate other platforms that let people sell on Whop and really focus on our payments infrastructure, our dashboard, making it really easy for the top creators to make over $1 million a month. And there's not many platforms where people make over $1 million a month not selling porn, which is really exciting. So we went really deep on that.
Who says we're not selling porn?
Not yet.
Whop.com.
Whop.com. That's
good. That's good.
So and then here we are today. So the focus is really just like in giving creators as many tools and resources as possible to launch businesses. I think it's still, there's companies like Shopify that are great at letting people launch businesses, but modern day, not as many people want to just drop ship products from China anymore. People want to launch modern businesses, software businesses without knowing how to program. So we're just investing a ton of resources into making it as easy as possible for someone to launch a business and then help them get their first customer. And that's where we're at today.
Dude, what a story. And so Hunter, what do you do, bro?
Yeah, I don't know how I follow that. That's pretty tough, dude.
You don't, you just sell it.
Yeah. So I pretty much do I'll give you the full background. So you're going to hear a funny Australian accent. I, for my first 18 years of life, was in Australia. And I mostly spent doing professional men's figure skating. So one thing people don't know.
That's fire.
I did. That was me. So I did that for around 7 years of my life, and then went down the traditional route, and then decided to go to college. And I was in college, and I was originally going to do a engineering degree wanted to go into agricultural farming. And pretty much I realized that I just wasn't going to compete. I'm just I like to think I'm decently smart. I'm just not that smart. Right. And I started a stock investing sort of community within my college because I was on government funding at the time. And I wanted to make some money, and I went into Zip, Afterpay, all the buy now, pay later stocks early. I should have held them. I would be really rich right now. But I just got annihilated, and eventually
with government funding. Right?
Yeah, with government funding. So I took my money. I
left the country.
Yeah, got from these. No, I was in university. I was meant to go towards university. Instead, what I'll do is I'll just put that into shit coins, like normal, normal
your
stocks.
scholarship money.
Yeah, it was just not it. No, it wasn't even scholarship. It was something called Centerlink, where it's bottom of the barrel, you just can't afford to live. It should go toward food, right? Not even college. And that would just go into
that's why it's got
I'd go into crypto shit coins. That would go into penny stocks, the whole shebang. And I lucked out, right? The best way to win is to gamble, right? So I finally hit one, and I made $30,000-$40,000. I was just oh my God, I'm loaded. And what essentially happened is I just started shit posting about it on Twitter. I just started going yo, all these losers with their Bachelor of Arts degree, I'm up 40K. And I just started posting about it, and I grew a massive, this was 2020, 2021. I grew a really big social presence just online on Twitter, and I pivoted that into an agency. And so how I found Whop was that Whop was actually a client of my agency
wow.
back in like 2 years ago now. It was like 2 years ago. And I was giving Whop marketing advice on we were into like crypto NFT stuff back then. I was just like giving them advice on how to go into that niche and scale. And I was peddling an agency. I was probably doing like 6 figures. So I was like growing the agency pretty quickly. But it was just being peddled by like a bunch of VAs on onlinejobs.ph. So I was essentially living on the deposits, and then I'd get a percentage of revenue, but I wasn't doing so good on the percentage of revenue part because I just wasn't good at fulfillment. And then Cameron and Steve eventually reached out, and they were just like, hey, you know, I don't think you guys are doing like an incredible, like you're not doing an incredible job.
But you're hired.
But we would love for you to come out to New York. So I went out to New York. I was on like a tourist visa. I just met all the guys. I got to meet them. Didn't even know what Whop was. Like I had absolutely no clue. And then I just fell in love with the guys. Like I never met people.
We sent Hunter a picture of a place that was probably smaller than this room, saying this is where we lived. Like
trolling
him,
like,
and he believed us, and he still sent it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna go. So I was in Switzerland. I packed up all my stuff, went to New York, and then I didn't realize that you need a visa and everything. And then I spent 4 months like working back in Australia on Australian time zone, on the Eastern time zone in Australia. So I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. I wake up at 2 a.m., go to bed at 4 p.m. for 4 months, then went to Canada and lived in Mexico. And then eventually my visa process. And so I joined Whop early on to do marketing. And then that slowly changed into like sales roles and now performance agencies where I focus today.
That's amazing, dude. So I have a question for you, Cameron. As like a business founder and an owner, one of the things that you guys do incredibly well here is find good talent and develop that talent within the company. And like I've just not seen a company like at this stage, like in our Twitter space, that finds elite talent like you guys have. And I've been going around the office all day today, and guys with experience at companies like Apple and Google and like these huge companies decide that they want to work here now. And so how do you attract talent like that?
Yeah, I think in the early days, it was pretty much just like anyone who was a user who liked what we were doing, we would try to get them to join. So in the early days, it was really just like who is down to send it for 14 hours a day and just grind and like have a small shot. Yeah, have a small shot that this works, but like be a part of something cool. So in the beginning, it was really just finding a lot of the early people who used our platform who were passionate about the mission, really liked the space and wanted to send it. I think as we got bigger, it's really twofold. I think great like A players attract other A players. So I think it's Steven and myself and our entire team, like we spend a lot of time on hiring. Like it's just something you get what you pay for. Like if you spend a little bit of time on it, you're not going to get that amazing talent. If you spend a lot of time on it, it takes a lot of work. And I think it's giving people autonomy. I think you can't micromanage people. You have to bring them in and let them feel empowered and own something special. And I think too, it's the mission. Like our goal is to give everyone sustainable income via the internet. It's not like we want to, we have our eyes set on like we want to be number one in the world. Like we want to be the biggest company in the world. Like we have our site set out very far, and people resonate with that. There's some people who want to just send it. Like the people from the Google and the Apple are amazing. It's hard for them to double their company. They have to add trillions of dollars in market cap. Like it's hard for them to move the needle. For Whop, there's so much upside. We have like a little sprout of success so far, but it's still like day one. Like we haven't really accomplished anything yet. And I think those people, it's really exciting for them because they get to bring in processes that trillion-dollar companies have implemented and apply that here and really be empowered. Where at that company, they're still important, but there's a lot of people like them. Here, they have the ability to change like the complexion of the internet forever. So I think they feel really empowered by the mission, and A players attract other A players. So people want to work hard. They want to be a part of something greater than themselves. And I think giving people the power and like the mission to do that is important.
How big do you think the in-person offices played a role in all this? Because when I walked in today, I was like, dude, I want an office really bad.
Yeah.
Like you just have like squadrons of people like meeting in all the different rooms and stuff, and everyone's just like talking and collaborating, which is possible with Zoom and Slack and Whop, obviously, but not to the extent that you get in person. So if you want to speak on that.
Yeah, I think it's extremely, I think COVID messed up a lot, but if you think about like what early company, the Amazons, the Apples of the world, did it remote. It's just like it hasn't really been done. I think there's some companies today that are successful remote, but I think the in-person, you need to be able to argue. It's really hard to argue over Zoom. It's a lot easier to argue in person, like a good argument. You need to be able to like laugh and have fun. When it's 10 p.m. and there's house music on and everyone's working, you could share audio on Zoom, but it's just not the same. Like it's not as exciting. So I think in-person stuff is crucial. Are you guys remote or?
Yeah, we're fully remote, both companies.
But why aren't you guys in person?
I think it's just because the talent that we've already hired, albeit like we do have some A players, it's just so spread out right now. Like even if we put an office in Tampa, I don't know how we'd be able to get all the guys over there.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like the downfall of starting a company in COVID and scaling up both.
Yeah.
It was just like all spread out so sporadically. We didn't think at all about geography because we're like, fuck it. Like nobody's getting in person. So
Yeah.
might as well.
Yeah.
And now the infrastructure, I feel like it'd just be super difficult to try to tie it all together.
But what's like the main thing? Where is your guys' whole team based?
Co-founders are in Tampa.
Where were you guys all?
We're all.
Oh, in Tampa. Okay, cool. So are you guys all? Do you guys have an office in person? Why not? You guys are all.
I
in
know.
Tampa?
I want to do it.
We should do that. Yeah, we could get a small office for just the executives.
Yeah,
for sure.
just like a tiny 4-person.
I think even if you try for like a month, it's easy with like WeWork and stuff like that. I think you might as well like try the opposite. I think for us, we started. Steve lived in New York for a while, and Sharky and I were in Austin. We would do all day Zoom, so we'd be on Zoom for 12 hours a day. We'd have running Zoom. That was like we'd fall asleep on Zoom. It's still up, but we don't join as much because we're in person now. But I think in person, it's just you have to when hard problems pop up, you have to solve them quickly in the moment, move forward. I think it's just like so much better. But you guys should try it for a little bit and see how you like it.
I also think it's like super important for culture. Like, I think there's something we used to be in an office just like on the other building, and we just upgraded to this one. So we've lived in the same mile radius for like the last 3 years. There was like an apartment that everyone started in. There was like 13 dudes that were in there. It was a 3-bedroom. I was splitting like one room, 2 mattresses with one guy, 1.5K a month. Like it was just dire. And we had that other office. And I think what really built a lot of the backbone of Whop was like the culture that it was made. Like, I think it's really hard to believe in big ideas. Like give everyone sustainable income via the internet. It's like a big idea. Like that's really tough to do. And I think that's hard if you don't have not only like a work connection with someone, but also just like an actual tribe of people that you work with. And I think that's something that has kept me around for a really long period of time, is because I'm not just going to work with Cameron. I'm going to work because Cameron's in person. He's someone that I know cares about me. He's someone that I'm friends with. And we're on a bigger mission than just going to a 9 to 5. So it increases buy-in.
Dude, I think the biggest thing is the healthy peer pressure that comes with it.
Sure.
Like if you're on Zoom or just inside of Slack, it's so easy to be like, damn, I'm working my ass off, but is that team member working his ass off? I don't know. And like you can have this weird jealousy that can breed throughout the teams, different departments. Like the sales team is like, oh, we're closing all deals. Like get us more calls. The marketing team's like, we're producing so many calls. You guys aren't closing any deals. But if you're in person, it's just so easy to see, oh, everybody's working. So if he's working, I'm not going to work.
You guys
So I
should
think
commit
that's the
to doing
biggest
it
thing.
for a month.
Yeah. On this podcast, we're making a commitment. Offices in Tampa. Opening.
Next pod is
as
in
soon
the
as
new
we're back.
office.
Yeah, I
We'll
like
move
that.
quickly on it.
It's a great idea. One of the things you guys do incredibly well, amongst a lot of other things you guys do incredibly well, is attract not just good talent within the company, like sales talent, CS talent, whatever else, but also like good talent to be customers and users of the platform, right? Like we went through a migration from school and Discord and Kajabi and all the other platforms we were using prior for our course, Internet Money, and moved it over to Whop thanks to Hunter and his great sales ability.
Thanks, guys.
So credit to Hunter. But how do you guys, I guess, you guys attract so much great talent. Like right outside this door, you guys have like a canvas on the wall of just people who have visited the offices in person. And a lot of the names are recognizable. And I know some other people that aren't on the wall, but I know they use Whop. Like I was on the website today. They were saying they're going to do a revision of the website, and like A Boogie is like on the website. That he has like a Whop, which is like, how do you guys attract that level of a talent to a product like yours?
Yeah, I think you can cold call a million people, you can like DM as many people as you want, but at the end of the day, I love the analogy of like at one point everyone had a horse and like everyone shifted from a horse to a car, and it just has to, at the end of the day, you can call a couple people, like you can call a couple companies and creators and get them to switch just based on the personal relationship, but it doesn't scale. Like to move over a ton of people over time, you need to have a 10x better product. And I think that's kind of how we orient around our business is it's not even worth it to try to convince someone to join if we don't think we can help them make more money. Like our goal is we have a different like kind of structure than most companies in terms of like aligned incentives with how we price our product and stuff. So we as a platform need to make people more money or it won't work than any other platform. So I think the short answer is we could bring a lot of people over, but we have what I'm more excited about is like we have very little creator churn. Like people don't really leave Whop, and that's because we invest heavily in the relationships and we make sure that they're making more money. So I think the short answer is it's just like obsess over your product, and you have to have a 10x better product than anyone else if you want to win. And if not, don't focus on acquiring new customers, focus on making your product better. The best way to make your product better is to build really tight relationships with creators. Like we have an iMessage chat with you guys. You guys are constantly sending feedback, and like we recognize that as a company, we ship things really quickly. We probably push more bugs than most companies. Like our product has flaws, but we will fix issues faster than anyone else because of that model. Like we're going to go really fast. We're going to clean up quickly and fix. So I think it's having a 10x better product and building really tight relationships with the creators you onboard, so that you guys should feel like a partner in the business. Like if this works, it works for everyone, and you guys get a better product versus like a transactional relationship where we talk a couple times. So 10x better product and close relationships with people.
Yeah, it's huge. And then from a sales perspective, right? Like how do you sell product that is so new and so advanced?
I honestly feel like I do sales, right? But to be honest, I do more just like becoming friends. Like I'm just like a good friend, I would say. Like I think like a lot of my conversations are just like genuinely being curious about people. And we have this motto internally of never guess, right? Like for example, like I don't ever want to guess how Whop can like help your guys' business. I don't want to guess like what your problems are. I want to just like ask you guys straight up, like, hey, if I'm, wanting you on the platform, what do you actually care about? Like what actually matters to you? And if it's payment processing, cool, we can chop up payment processing all day. If it's churn, we can talk payment churn all day. So I think it's really just like asking questions, which sounds super simple. And I also think too, like it's the most important part is also knowing why a deal doesn't go through. Like it's not just like sales, it's also just like product feedback, where if you guys are like, hey, I don't want to switch to Whop because Slack is better for XYZ reasons, to come back to Cam's 10x better analogy, I would just ask you guys, like, what would make it 10x better, like, experience than Slack? And then if you guys say, well, nothing, then I ask you, like, why aren't you doing 10 mil per month? Recurring. So I think it's just like asking questions, and then to not only asking questions, but asking why they aren't joining and what we need to build. Because then if you say, hey, I don't want to join Whop because I don't like this part of the marketplace, then I can go to the product team and I can say, hey, this creator that's doing $200,000 per month doesn't like this about the marketplace, and I work with you to make it exactly what you want. And that not only gives you a better product, but also shows faith in me, because you know what that relationship's going to be like, where if you have an issue, we can work on it and then actually deliver on that.
What is it like talking to the product team? Just because, for context, at our software company, we're not allowed to talk to the product team.
Why not?
Because our CTO is like their father duck. He's like, no, you don't talk to them.
I think it's a really cool push and pull relationship, because we're trying to prioritize short term, where we're trying to prioritize this deal being closed or this creator coming onto the platform. And product says, okay, that's really cool, but how does that actually fit into the bigger vision of the company, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I want, I don't know, crazy confetti on checkout, right? And I say, Christian really loves confetti and he wants this on our checkout page yesterday. And that's exactly what he said is going to win his business. I then go to our product team and I say, hey, this is what Christian wants, really clearly articulated. And then the product will say, hang on a minute, we actually don't think confetti, works with our company values. We think we should have like little fire, right? Or fire emojis when you check out. And then I can come back to you and say if that works. So product's really job is to keep growth accountable to the longer company term vision. And then it's a push and pull relationship where we say, here's what we actually need. But the main important thing is I actually figure out exactly what you want so that I'm not guessing and that I can deliver something of value.
And then what's like the sales? Because let's say Travis Scott makes a Whop tomorrow. It's not like he's paying you guys anything to get started, right? Or it's just like a rev share. How does that work?
Yeah. So our business model is payment processing. So we pass on payment processing from Stripe. And then we take 3% on top of that. So ours is slightly different, as Cameron was saying, where we actually have to make sure you're on a better platform. Otherwise there's churn. And then we have more buy into your business.
Like it puts a target on our back. Because if we just charge a SaaS fee of $50 a month, $100, $200 a month, it wouldn't. If we don't make you more money, it doesn't matter because we're getting our SaaS fee. But if you don't make any money, we don't make any money. When creators make a lot of money, we need to make them at least more than 3%. Is a small number. Like we want to help over time. Our goal is to be driving at least, like we want to drive 90% of a company's GMV through the marketplace. Like we want the user to go to Whop, find a company and purchase it. Like find you guys through the marketplace. So I think it puts a target on it's a healthy target on our back at all times, where if we were a SaaS platform, we'd probably sleep better at night. It'd be easier because we wouldn't have to stress about it. But we are getting a percentage of creators' businesses. We have to make you guys more money or else rightfully so, you guys would go to a different platform. That's what
random idea, like what would stop you guys from approaching like a Travis Scott and being like, here's $1 million, make a WAP, like
I think
putting it in that light.
Well, I think when you talk about, I think everything in life is about aligned incentives. If we give him $1 million, he launches a WAP grade. He's not incentivized. What is he? Day one, he'll go hard. Day two, he already got paid the $1 million. He doesn't really care. So I think it would be more so like, if you get to 100,000 people in your WAP, we'll pay for a stadium and you can throw a free show for those people. I think stuff like that would be more.
But I feel like the sales for you guys can almost be reversed, where it's like you can offer things to them instead of them paying you.
For sure. I love that idea of I love the idea of giving Travis Scott $1 million worth of value, but if you give it all to him on day one,
I didn't mean it like literally
totally,
in the sense,
I love that.
But it's like,
I think we should.
Sure.
I think like staggering tiers that they can earn based on how many people are in their WAP, where they unlock Tesla, whatever it is. Like, I agree with you.
Dude, you guys can almost like invest in upcoming creators. Like if you got Post Malone in 2011 on a WAP and it became Post Malone, it's like you guys are lit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I think that's awesome. I think too, one thing, like we're getting to the stage where we're getting more like celebrities, rappers, those kind of people on. We want those people on too. I think right now where we're at is like, we want to make sure they actually make a lot of money too. Because I think where platforms sort of haven't done as good a job as the past is like they get like.
Well, you guys kind of give me like NFT community vibes in a good way, not a bad way, where it's like
And the
that
problem
person
where
can
they
get
messed
access.
up-
That person can get access to like, if I join Post Malone's WAP, he can drop a song early and fans
it's
vote
sick.
on.
That's
Fans
awesome.
vote or fans vote on the winner.
Yeah.
But
I think-
to your point, that's where NFT community is messed up. Is the creator got paid day one, and then the community fizzled out.
Yeah.
There's no recurring revenue, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't build
I also
it.
think part of our responsibility is to help creators launch better businesses. Like I think the model you're describing works, but if you think about like, there's a reason no one on Patreon, the top people on Patreon make $500,000 a month, and they have 200,000 creators, which is pretty insane that they have that many creators and no one's making around $500,000 a month. And that's because it's the same issue X has. People don't like the OnlyFans style of paywall content where it's just like image, video, text. Like that's not an immersive experience. And I think part of our responsibility is Airbnb took a house and they didn't build a new house. They just shifted what you could do with the house and people started making way more money. Same thing with Uber. And I think our responsibility with creators is to actually help them launch better businesses. Like Post Malone, the issue with the Patreon style, if he just launches one song early, if he takes a week off of providing content in his WAP, then the WAP is dead. And you don't want to make it, I think we want to add a lot of resources to where what people actually want is like a private listening party would be cool, but also like the ability to influence his next album. The ability to like really engage with him I think Fred again is like a cool artist that does a good job of engaging with this community. But in general, I think
So what do you mean by immersive? Like having a pop-up in Brooklyn that only WAP members can go to or something like
Yeah,
that?
or even just like, yo, I'm going to be in this forum for an hour or this music review app, and you guys are all going to drop your live beats in this app, and I'm just going to review each one of your tracks, and I'm going to say, hey, this is my feedback on it, right? And I think...
I'll make a song with the best
Yeah,
one.
exactly, right? And I think it's how do we... Sure, like in-person experiences is sick, like let's do that, but also how do we make really cool web apps too, where very low effort for Post Malone, he can do an interactive experience where like, let's scrape every single one of Post Malone's video, text, speech, everything he's ever written. Let's make a Post Malone chatbot as part of the community you can pay $5 to, and you can just talk or build songs with Post Malone. Like, how can we make it so we build that where now any artist on the entire planet can add that same app or that same functionality to their community? And just like that, creators just made monetization.
Yeah, I think
way
what's
better.
really missing is like the feedback loop between in that example, artist and a user. Because if you ask Post Malone who his 100 biggest fans are, he probably has no idea. Like if you ask him what his fans actually like and dislike about his songs, he would maybe read you comments from his Instagram. Like what is holding us back from making one app where a user can connect their Spotify account to WAP, and the 0.01% of listeners get free backstage passes. They get the ability to give him feedback, and it's like it's a whole different experience. Like he doesn't have to do extra work. He's just rewarding his top fans. He's actually getting there's no feedback loop. They get access to special events. Hunter's example of where everyone in the community can post like a freestyle, and everyone in the community upvotes and downvotes. The top 3 people get to free. Like there's just different ways we can.
There's a million different ways you can go about this.
And I think it's less of the fan clubs doesn't work. Like if Post Malone was to charge $10 a month for behind the scenes shit, it's just like it's such a transactional relationship. How do they have the ability to influence his next album where he releases every single song ahead of time and the top people get to actually like vote and get feedback? It's just like I think the feedback loop is what's really missing.
Yeah.
What about, so there's no shortage of ideas, obviously, right? Like you guys have endless possibilities with what you're building. So from like, again, like a founder level perspective, like how do you kind of bottle those up and make sure like the daily dials are still being attended to? Like, what are your guys' KPIs that you're tracking?
Yeah. I mean, right now we have 3 main focuses as a company, which is 1, user experience. Like we've been building a lot of product recently. We need to sharpen some of our edges and make the user experience a little bit cleaner. 2, vertical expansion. So just really focus on the verticals we want to expand to. And then 3, app adoption. So this new ecosystem we're building, a Whop apps, make sure people are using them. So if someone's working on something that isn't those 3 priorities, we've blasted to the companies many times. We go over them weekly in our town hall meeting. So if anyone, its focus is like at this point it's like we can't like, if we lose, it'll be because we beat ourselves kind of thing. Like we can't fumble this amazing opportunity that we have, which we're like so lucky to be in this position. So I think it's just extreme focus and continuing to harp on extreme focus. And when we make plans, we include what we're doing, and we also include on the bottom what we're not doing, like what we decided to eliminate. And I think like a good plan isn't just what you're doing, it's also what you decided to remove, because you can't do everything. So I think just continuing to harp on these are the 3 focuses. If you're doing something that doesn't fall in these 3 focuses, you should really ask yourself why, because these are the 3 focuses, and just focus on these 3.
Love it, bro. That's awesome. I guess one of the other things that I was talking to your guys' CEO, Steven, about earlier is like, at first you're focused on making the product really good for the creators, right? Like that's your main focus. But now like you're also responsible for the creators' customers. So like one thing for us is like, yeah, you got us as a creator, but now it's like you're saying, how do we also provide the creators' customers a good experience within Whop? And I just think that's like, it's a big problem to solve. So I just think it's cool that you guys are like tackling that. But like to your point with app adoption, right? That's a big topic. And I think that's one thing we've talked about, Hunter, is like right now for our biggest community, Client Ascension, we use Slack. The only reason we use Slack, I don't like using Slack because we get hit with a $3,000 a month bill for using Slack. But the only reason we use it is because our students are agency owners, and every agency owner is on Slack. And so for them to engage with our community is super easy because they just flip to a new workspace. And so the engagement's through the roof compared to any other platform we've ever tried. And that was the same problem we ran into with something like School or Kajabi or Circle or all these other platforms that are popping up. Is it was too much of a barrier for someone to start to like get into the habit of using and checking this platform. And so I guess, what is your guys' plan of attack to address that over time?
Yeah, sure. I think so we just moved our entire company off.
Bro, this is cool.
Slack to
Yeah,
Whop.
that's so cool.
So we recreated everything from like, first I'll just say like I don't think we have a 10x better product than Slack right now, to be honest. And if I said we did right now, I'd be lying to you. So that's why we moved our entire company from Slack to Whop. So we recreated everything.
This is so cool.
We get all of our notifications. We've got threads and chats. And also like the idea is by doing that, we're going to expedite the rate at which product gets shipped, because the entire company, like talk about buy-in, everyone from a sales rep to an engineer to a product manager to a customer support agent, they're in that product, they're using it, and they're going, hang on a minute, something's not quite right. So why would it be good for creators? So we're doing that. And then I think long term, like we want Whop to be a place for anyone. We want it to not only just be for info product creators or communities like yours, we also want places like churches to launch a Whop. Like how can I have like at my physical church that I attend, but also how can I have that experience recreated digitally where, you know, I can get prayer requests through the suggestions app. I can get a forum to, you know, talk about, you know, prayer of the day. I can get, you know, merchandise I can buy. I can tip in the church as well. So we're right now, as Cameron said, like we're doing vertical expansion, and that is to solve the problem where if you just stay in this niche of like info, it's not going to be like Facebook where you're checking that Facebook community and you're also messaging your mom, versus if we can expand into every vertical, and if we can do like DMs, if we can do like following, that's going to bring that same feeling that Slack has, and maybe even more, that social platforms have nailed really well.
Yeah. I also think with our apps ecosystem is a really unique opportunity where I'm assuming, do you guys recommend platforms for the agencies, like for CRMs and stuff like that? Do you recommend they sign up on different platforms?
Yeah.
Cool. So we can build like we can build our own version of a CRM, or we could acquire a CRM and integrate that into Whop. And now you guys could add, as a part of your offering, access to your CRM, where it's white labeled, it's in your Whop. And now it's, instead of like the new, we're dropping our new homepage. By the time this out, our new homepage will be out, and the tagline is like your new home for the internet. And why should Like, why should because technically your engagement in Slack is pretty high, but it would actually probably be higher if the CRM was also in Slack. And if everything was in there. And I think that's the approach where, and that's like the 10x better experience is like, you can manage your CRM and you can immediately go to the chat and get feedback from the community. And you can like, they're connected in the same world. And you could even see on your user profile, this person hasn't updated their CRM in 14 days. Like you could send them an auto email. And it's just like, it's a whole different user experience. And I think that is, like we could try to clone Slack, but that's a 1x better product. It's the same exact thing versus 10x would be something like a CRM. And that's where it's our responsibility to help you guys and all the creators on our platform build better businesses. And you guys plus a CRM plus all these offerings included in your product for free is like next level. And I think that's where we're going.
How crazy would it be if like you had, let's say all of your agency owners, they had all their WOPs and you had your WOP and you could see that all of your users that are in Client Ascension in your WOP where you're communicating with your community, what if we as WOP provided you data and analytics as to how to make your community more engaged, right? Like, so I think the problem with a lot of these platforms, like even with Discord, Slack, they're great platforms, don't get me wrong, but what if it could be a 10x better experience if we as WOP with all of the data, like Slack has, let's say, in a non-intrusive way, tell you, hey, you guys should post more about VSLs because that's actually what your community cares about. Like that's all that people want. And if you could get a 10% increase in engagement because we gave you that data and analytics, that's pretty huge too. So we're also thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm curious if you guys had like 3 of the most cracked developers in the world that could build you guys anything for free for your guys for Client Ascension stuff. Like what would you have them build?
I think something that would measure community engagement and say like, hey, this, because you have Slack analytics, right? Which can tell you very limited things like how many messages this person send, like how often do they engage. But if you can marry that with like what we also have in Kajabi for Client Ascension specifically to say, hey, this person has messaged this many times this week. They've watched this much of the content. This is what content they did watch. And this is also connected to Zoom. So I can tell how many calls I've gone to. Because that's really for us, like it's coaching, community content. So if you can marry that all in one place and have like an analytics dashboard to the point where like when a client sends a pissed off message and they're like, you know, this isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Like their student success coach, instead of like basically trying to be a therapist, can just actually click on Tim's profile and see, okay, well, Tim, you've watched 2% of the content. You've gone to one call and you've sent one message. What do you expect? Like that would probably be the number one thing for Client Ascension specifically.
Like it's like, yo, you've watched 70% of the course, you've done X amount input, like engagement in the forum, you showed up to this many calls. You as a creator should know, hey, this guy's ready for the 20K package.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're not just ready for the upsell once they're winning at the end of the 6-month program. They're ready for the upsell whenever the win occurs. If that's
I love the user engagement. I like the user engagement idea because that is like you want that will help you. It's kind of like imagine if a teacher couldn't see the students' homework and like the test answers. It gives you all of the resources to invest in users and give them more.
Yeah, the other big opportunity for you guys that we're trying to solve at scale is ecosystem. So like we don't just sell Client Ascension anymore. We sell Internet Money, we sell Cold Email Mastery, we sell COO methods. So we have a whole product suite of low ticket. And the entire point of those low ticket products is to nurture someone, get them a result so that they can then qualify themselves to join Client Ascension. Once they're in Client Ascension, get them a result so that they can then be pitched and sold on a mastermind. And right now, I'll tell you, like COO method is in Kajabi, Internet Money is in WOP, Cold Email Mastery is in School, Client Ascension's in Slack, Mastermind is who knows where, and then ListKit's its own web app. So it's like there's no symmetry within that ecosystem that makes it really easy for data to funnel from one step into the next. And so we're missing out. There's a lot of holes in the system. And you mentioned ListKit already, but we have like a software that can latch on to a customer in any of those products. But right now, again, it's just another web app that they then have to go to outside of Kajabi, outside of School, outside of all the current places they go to.
Yeah, and I think that's actually like an industry agnostic problem because if you think about it, like going back to, we've talked about artists. If I'm Russ, for example, like, yeah, I have music, but most people don't go and buy CDs anymore. They have a Spotify subscription, right? So I want to be able to see who's listening to me on what platforms, but I also want them to buy my merch. And I also do this podcast, so I want to see who's a podcast listener. So for us, it's all very business oriented, but it's like, it's difficult because all the time we'll see in the subscription channel in ListKit, it's super cool because somebody will sign up for a ListKit sub and I'm like, dude, I've had.
What's ListKit?
That's our database company, our SaaS.
So really? Yeah. So that's our software, but it's like, oh shit. Like I talked to this guy at our agency like 3 years ago, but it's annoying because I can only see the data in that specific person's Stripe profile from the other company. So it's like, you may have bought 3 things from us, which is very common. Like a lot of people buy at multiple different stops at different companies, but I can only see you in a snapshot at each company.
And that's
as opposed
just
to seeing
our
all
problem.
the
Think about the
company history.
customer's problem that has to log in here for this, log in there for that. And it's like, anyways, guys, I know we're short on time. I think you have some sales calls coming up.
I gotta go at 6.
So I want to get us out of here on time. First off, thank you again for the opportunity, bringing us all out here. This is awesome. I feel like this is like one of those interviews we'll look back on ourselves, just being like, dude, isn't that so cool? We got these guys on the podcast like before they blew up big time. Yeah, shoes off and everything. But man, like I guess message for the audience to leave them with of just like what's exciting at Whop. I mean, everything we've talked about is exciting, but like what do you want to leave the audience with? What should they be looking forward to? Give them that as a last note here.
I think honestly, what I'm most excited about, I think someone told me recently that we're about like 15, 16 months away from W-9s flipping W-2s, where more people are making money as contractors and like launching their own business as full-time employees. And I think COVID exacerbated this, but just in general, the shift in the world it's cool how many people, there's so many people who are just bored with their jobs. And whether it be Whop or another, I think I'm obviously biased towards Whop, but in general, I just think it's so cool how many people are trying to solve the issue of making it easier for people to launch businesses. And that is just, in the early days, we always joked about how we wanted Whop to kind of be like the biggest farmers market in the world where people create their own products and sell them online. So I think whether it's us or another platform, I think it's not even about just like shilling Whop. It's just like people should follow, it's really, I know what it feels like to work on something I'm passionate about, and it's like a magical feeling. And I think it's really cool how much of the world is shifting towards people, even you guys, like you guys are doing what you guys have so many different businesses under one army. It's just like cool. Like you're doing what you love. You have the world at your fingertips. So I think it's just like really exciting that we're at a point in life that people within a couple minutes can launch a business and start taking payments, because it seems simple nowadays, but that was like a pretty complicated thing to do like 20 years ago. So I think it's just cool. People should follow their passions, try to launch a business around something they're excited around. It might fail a couple times, but keep at it. They'll figure it out, and it's a lot more fulfilling of a life to do something that you're passionate about.
I would just say like this is really the tip of the iceberg. Like it's funny, like our conversation, the creators we're dealing with today are in, you know, like the info product niche, they're in the community niche, they already know what's going on. And we like, I feel like Kajabi, School, Whop, like all these platforms are touching like the 0.001% of the Western world that knows how to monetize or know what's going on. So I'm just really excited about like, what does it look like to get like a laundromat on Whop? What does it look like to get a church on Whop? What does it look like to get a fraternity on Whop? What does it look like to, you know, enable people in India to start online businesses, to change how they do commerce? So I think I'm really just excited about this industry as a whole, because right now it feels like this weird click, but I think it's going to grow really quickly and people are going to catch on like, hey, I want to make money using a Whop. I want to make money using a Kajabi or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, what's your guys' answer for your businesses?
I'm trying to think about it because we have multiple different businesses. I would say the biggest thing for us and what I find most exciting is just seeing how many people in literally the past 3 years have gone from buying one of our low ticket courses for like $35 a month or like $100 a month. And now they're making 50 grand a month, 93K a month.
Most exciting for me is to fucking demolish people that have funding and a ton of money raised and we have zero. So.
That's true too. It's kind of like the David versus Goliath story at Let's Kid. But yeah, no, it's super
story,
cool.
Dude. Have you guys been on that?
We just recorded.
Yeah, he's a beast, dude.
Story
he refused
last
us
week
because we raised money. I'm like,
yeah,
they're so cool, but we want to be on.
Yeah, nothing against people who raise money. Nothing against you guys. No, but similar. I think that's the cool thing about the work that we do together is like we have a very similar mission where we want to empower people through education, not necessarily through a platform like you guys. And I think the one thing that we're missing is giving them a platform that they can do it on. Right now it's education, like Dan said, just being able to help people go from either working a job or just not having any success with online business after trying and failing, and finally giving them like business models and things that will actually work for them. And then empowering that through different software platforms like ListKit and whatever else. But with what you guys are doing, it's like, that was the idea I gave you. Is like, dude, I want like people that come into our community, like I want a piece of the action later on, because I know we're going to be cultivating some of your guys' like most famous, legendary, highest earning Whops ever.
Yeah. To finish that thought that I was saying about like these kids making money, it's super cool because this same process, it took us like 5 years to get to this point to be successful in multiple different businesses. And like the most rewarding thing for me, at least over the past year, has just been watching like these 18, 19-year-olds just fucking run laps around us and do the same exact thing that we did. But because we built the products just for previous versions of ourselves, it's like, it's awesome. It's like they're doing it way quicker. They're doing that 5-year stint that we did in a year, in 6 months. So just seeing, how far can we take it? Like, can we get somebody to make $20K a month in like 3 weeks? Like maybe, but that's the exciting thing.
It's so cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Cool. Yeah, guys, appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Cameron.
This is fun.
Stuff,
Thank
bro.
you.
This is great. Could have went for a long time.